Hello and welcome back. So today we're going to be doing an oversized tee, and let's jump straight in. So the material I'm using is any lightweight knit that's made out of cotton and has a slight stretch to it. It doesn't have to be super stretchy, but any slight stretch will really give it that t-shirt feel. So I recommend you go with something like that. And this is how you trace out the pattern if you're going to be using it. I will be providing a link below in the description, and I hope that's a lot easier for you guys compared to the screenshot, which was a little learning curve, but I got you guys covered. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and start the neckband and trace out the measurement and then add a little bit of seam allowance. And do not worry, I have added this already to the pattern and it's already measured out and marked for you guys. Now before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and serge the end of the sleeve, the hem of the shirt, and the neckline. That just reinforces everything and helps us get started. The next step once we start sewing is to hem the sleeves. Go ahead and do that to each side before we move on to the side seams of the shirt. Make sure to match up your sleeve ends to make sure everything comes out smoothly and is nicely aligned. Some people like to hem before you close the shirt, but I find that it gives it a nicer look if you hem after. And you know, the opening is big enough for us to hem it while it's closed, so I think it looks a little better. I'm gonna go ahead and serge my side seams before I do anything else, and here we are all set. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hem the shirt. Most of these measurements, seam allowances are around 1/4 inch or half a centimeter. So do keep that in mind when sewing. For me personally, I kind of like to use the serging or the overlocking as the guide and just kind of follow that along mostly every time. So if you have a serger, I do recommend use it. It really gives it a professional look and it's very helpful when sewing seams. And this is how it is all set, and now we're going to move to the neckline. Now for the neckband, I recommend you sew at 1/4 inch or half a centimeter and then clip a little bit of that seam allowance off before you match it up. Make sure the right sides are matching together and center that seam towards the center of either side. Since they're the same, it doesn't matter which one becomes the back, so just make sure it's a little centered nicely and go ahead and pin all around. Now that you've pinned everything all around, you're all set to start sewing. And once again, we're going to sew at 1/4 inch or half a centimeter. And now that you're done sewing that, you're going to go ahead and fold the neckband over to the wrong side and fold the seam upwards so it's not showing, and then go ahead and pin. When we stitch, we're going to stitch you could stitch either into the seam that you made on the right side, or you can stitch right under it, and it should still catch the serging or that little flap that we're folding over, making it into a neckband. And you're all set to sew. So as you can see right here, I'm being very cautious about how I start at the back and then just sew straight under that other seam. And like I said before, you could go ahead and stitch in the ditch, which is the term for sewing into a previous seam you sewed, which hides the stitching, but I find that to be a little more trickier to get, so I like to sew it right under. I don't mind if the stitching shows, at least it'll be even throughout the entire neckline, and for me personally it's a little easier than stitching in the ditch. And once you're done, you're all set. That neckband looks great, and we're gonna flip everything over before giving it a good press. And if you haven't yet, please leave a like, share, comment, and anything below to interact and show some love. And I do recommend you press before you try it on, that way everything looks nice and crisp. And here's Clarity with it on. Now this is one of those clothing that you're gonna have to remove the head. You could leave the arms on, it's big enough for the arms to go up and then fit through, so you will have to remove at least the head or take off the wig. But in my opinion, it's so worth it. Look how cool it looks. Very nice, oversized. It drapes nicely. And here's a quick little trick that I like to do with my oversized tees. I like to kind of like knot them or like put a rubber band around them and then move it to the side so it looks a little fitted at the bottom. And I don't know, I just really like that little casual look, and it just adds like a touch of style for the dolls. And bam, we're adding the Culture Japan cardigan, and we're all set. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed.